Well, hello, I'm here with Doug to talk about memory safety and other things, but we'll start with you, Doug.
Yeah, so this is March 5th, and the big story that I kind of want to lead with is John Oliver, who's a comedian, and I don't know where you watch him, but I saw him on YouTube, shows who watches TV,
Yeah.
not me. Anyway, John Oliver did a very good video on pig butchering, and pig butchering is just totally out of control right now. And it's about a 20-minute video. It's worth watching because he covers multiple aspects of it. And the first and so if you don't know what pig butchering is, it's you as the victim start off as a little piglet. And somebody sends you a text like, oh, you can put the package at the back door, or, is this John? I'll meet you at 2 for lunch. And it's a kind of a way of bumping into somebody through a text message. And so somebody writes back saying, no, this isn't John. And so then all of a sudden, over the next couple days or weeks, a relationship, not sexual relationship, but a friendly relationship starts building. And then they typically will use models' photographs. And they've now gotten smart enough that you can't reverse image those photos. They're slightly modifying them a little bit. So you can't detect that they're a model or it's a stock photo used someplace else. And now what they're doing is during this time, they're fattening you up. And then they'll come along and they'll say, oh, I have a good cryptocurrency, but don't send me the money. I've got a fake app, or I've got something else where you send the money, right? And that person is not the intermediate, and that's not the person that's accepting the money.
Yeah.
Now, they have you go to the App Store. It could be Apple as well as Android App Store. You download an app that looks like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Schwab, whoever. It looks like a legitimate app. It is. It has all 5-star reviews. People say it's great. Those are all obviously fake reviews. You download the app and you put your money into it.
Yeah.
And then it's a cryptocurrency. And Sam, what's interesting is this is now $10 billion, 10B with a billion. It's up $1 billion from a year ago.
Yeah.
And what the FBI has found is that older people are still falling for this in less numbers, but in higher dollar amounts. And younger people are falling for this,
Yeah.
large numbers, but smaller dollar amounts. Now, the other side that John Oliver shows this is going in Myanmar and other countries
Myanmar.
where, where they're, sorry, that's correct, where they're having people go to the country for work, and
Right.
then they're taking their passports, and they're working essentially in what we would call sweatshops in the U.S. They're
Yeah.
working 14 hours a day. They get beat. They've got, their food is withheld from them, and there's really very little that we as Americans or Europeans can do because of the legal jurisdiction.
Right.
And lots of times, if somebody is on the inside and they try and contact the police, the people running the scam center have to pay off the police and they sell them to somebody else. So it's modern slavery I
Yep.
guess we would call that slavery, right?
Yeah. China just repatriated, I think, 1,000 of them from,
Oh, is that right?
yeah, they
Yeah.
just busted one of the big sweatshops in Myanmar and took the people back to China.
Yeah, so I would look at John Oliver's pig butchering video. It's very well done, and it's
Yeah.
it's worth it. And here's the question: the end of the day here, end of the video, not at ours, but what are people to do? How do you protect yourself? And the number one is education
Right.
and being suspicious.
Yeah, and that's
And
why I think it's good to bring this up. So many people get
yeah,
scammed. I'm really
yeah,
glad to spread the news so people remember this can be happening.
yeah. And they're very good, and there are people who of all ages in that video have given hundreds of thousands of dollars. You would think, okay, maybe $20 or a couple hundred, but we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars
Oh yeah.
that people have given. Yeah, yeah. And the other one, Sam, I didn't get a chance to review this, but maybe you know this. In Kansas, there's a bank where the exec for the bank, he wasn't quite clear on the story, but the exec gave $50 million to the scammers, and
Oh,
the bank closed. He gave all the assets to the scammers, and now this bank exec, is going to be put on trial and facing years in prison. And I'm not really sure how that happened. But on the other side, how would a bank exec sign over all the assets of a bank to a scammer?
well, they're authorized to move the money. They think it's an investment or something. I can see how it would happen, but he will get prosecuted because it's not his money.
Yeah, but he was working as the bank. I mean, he didn't steal the money. I think he invested.
Right,
I don't
right.
know. I've got to look.
Well, there was a guy, Jerome Carivial or something, like 10 years ago that
Yeah,
in a French bank that invested like $2 or $3 billion when he was only supposed to be authorized to invest like 50,000 because he figured out how to like work through the controls.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it can happen. The money is there and they do move the money places, so it can happen.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Anyway, that's pig butchering with John Oliver. Oh, the other part of this is this wasn't John Oliver, but you hear people saying, "Oh, we need to make laws to make that illegal. We need to put controls in place so people can't pay that money and send it to scammers." But here's the
How could there
problem.
be? I mean,
Yeah,
you have money, you need to be able to send it if you want to.
yeah, 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 yeah. And it's money that's not going to directly to another bank in the US
Yeah.
unless they use an intermediary, which is called a money mule. And the money mule is not part of the scam. They're innocent people. They're just forwarding money.
Yeah.
So it makes it difficult. And I don't know of a fix other than educating people and be suspicious.
Yep, I think that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, eventually people wise up. I remember I think it was the Philippines, when Americans first moved in, they stole half of the entire GDP with like pyramid schemes because they'd never seen them before. And then everybody wised up. I think
yeah,
there will just come
yeah.
a time when it becomes common knowledge not to fall for this stuff.
Yeah, and I think in the report it's Myanmar, right?
I think Myanmar is the one I saw.
Myanmar. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I believe he mentioned that over half of their GDP is from scamming.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
That's another
yeah.
thing. Yep. That's
So it
that's
is a money maker.
it is. I mean, and that complicates the morality of it. These really poor
Right.
places are getting money from rich Americans that don't really need it. So it's
Yeah.
arguably not even immoral what they're doing, if you want to look at it that way.
Yeah. So I hope people take the 20 minutes, watch Pig Butchering by John Oliver.
Yeah.
So what's your first story for today?
Well, this is the big one. Google put
Yes.
out a white paper about memory safety. The CISA just announced, or President Biden or someone in the U.S. government announced we should be using memory safe languages. So Google put out a white paper on memory safety, and it's very good. And it says there's no realistic path for the evolution of C++ into a language with rigorous memory safety. And at the same, I
Really?
had students that want to not learn C anymore. I said, no, that's not the right response because C is not going away. They say at the same time, a large-scale rewrite of existing C++ into a different language is very difficult and will likely remain impractical. So we're going to have both of them going forward. So they have we're going to be operating a very substantial C++ code base for quite some time. So they're trying to transition to memory-safe languages for new code and particularly at-risk components with safety improvements in existing C++ code, which is what you have to do. I know this is what Microsoft did. Microsoft had special libraries to limit the risk of C, and they're also moving into Rust. And so memory safety bugs are responsible for 70% of severe vulnerabilities in large C++ code bases. Android 13 introduced 1.5 million lines of Rust with zero memory safety vulnerabilities. This prevented an estimated hundreds of memory safety vulnerabilities. And so, anyway, I'm glad to see it. I've been teaching Rust for a while, and it's coming of age. And Cloudflare made I think, a Rust-based proxy that they say is faster than Nginx and safer. So it's
We'll
coming of
see.
age. This is the future.
Yeah, yeah. So programming kind of started out, programming languages like networking, security wasn't a thing. Wasn't.
Well, functionality was a thing, and there was some degree of security in there, but yeah.
Yeah, but functionality over security.
Yeah, and also I think in the early days, people were expected to understand the hardware. C defined this thing called a string, and you're supposed to know that it's just a series of bytes with a null at the end, and not really a string, not really a sequence of characters. That's, I think, the ultimate problem here. It had these abstract concepts that were not equal to what you're using.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the fix they talk about. They say make better abstractions that behave more the way you want. That's what Rust does. Rust has strings that are a series of characters, and if you put in more data, it just makes it longer.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here's my next story. A woman working for the Army, I don't know if you've heard this story, wound up stealing $100 million. And what's crazy about this is she was working in payments. I believe this was in Dallas, it was in Texas. And she was approving payments. And she started a nonprofit organization for veteran children. And it went by the name CHYLD and Child Foundation, something like that. And she was approving and making payments to herself. She didn't really hide it. She got away with it for about 10, 12 years before she finally got caught. She's facing over 150 years. But Sam, you got to wonder, how much is enough? She bought 60 homes. She bought a mansion in Maryland with, I think, a 50-car garage. She had, I think, 10 Harley Davidsons. She had over 50, 60 cars, something like that. One person.
This is the mental illness at this point, you know.
Yeah.
This
yeah.
is like people that are hoarders and they fill their whole house with boxes of stuff, you know.
Yeah, well, I've heard of scammers that were going after ATM machines, and they would deplete a ATM machine of all the $20 bills. They'd put them in shoe boxes, and they had one bedroom in their house that was just filled with shoe boxes of money. And same kind of thing. They like getting the money. They like the act of collecting the money, but then they didn't know what to spend it on.
You know, the number one credit card theft in the world in San Francisco about 10 years ago was the guy Max Vision was his name. He was in the Mission District on the fourth floor, and he hacked and stole all the credit cards in the world. And he didn't spend any of the money. He lived in there. He lived on like tofu and he loved the hacking. He had a partner that would like spend the money, and his partner went out and got caught, and that's how he got caught. But he just loved the hacking and stealing, and then didn't spend the money.
So what was he doing with the money?
It was in some account somewhere. He had all the credit cards in the world that he made. I don't know. It's unclear. His buddy was off buying cocaine and cars and stuff.
So was he actually stealing money, or did he just have access to the accounts? Or you're not sure?
I'm not sure. I know the part I cared about was he stole credit card numbers.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
was the biggest credit card number theft at the time.
Yeah. Got it.
He ran Carter Planet.
I'm not familiar with the story.
What he did was he took over all the other credit card theft rings. He hacked them and stole their database and slammed all their people into his. So he made a master credit card website for all credit card fraud and took them over by force. So he controlled them all. Which, you know, you see the joy is in the hacking and proving you're smarter than anybody, like a game of chess.
Yeah.
This is what Kevin Mitnick said. You know, he said it was just basically mental disease that made me do all this hacking, because I didn't really get anything out of it, and I ended up going to prison. And I said, you know, it's like a gambling addiction. It's this fun thing you do that you can't stop even when you can see it's destroying you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Different type of addiction, right? But it's
Yeah.
fun. And
Yeah.
it's educational. You're learning something. You're exploring.
Well, I
That's
think gamblers learn things too. I think everybody perfects their craft.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think these social engineers, like these pig butchers, perfect their craft, learn how to do it.
Oh, I don't think so. I think this is purely business. And if you watch the John Oliver, they have a whole manual. They like an employee. They're treated as employees.
Yeah.
They're told exactly what to say. They have a script. They're told how to win somebody's confidence over.
Well, then
So
they'll just be replaced by AI soon.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. All right.
All right, you got another one for
I
us?
do. I was a article, I found out where it is. Yeah, on inc.com about Sundar Pichai, which I think is a very good article. I was very pleased to see this. Sundar, Google is ridiculous. I mean, why is Microsoft the leader in AI? This makes no sense at all. Google actually had the technology first, and they would logically be the leader, and they totally aren't. They've been very slow to roll anything out, and now they rolled out Gemini, and it was so bad they had to recall it and pull it back, and it's going to have to relaunch it. They actually launched it without testing it first, so it made terrible mistakes. And you wonder what's wrong with these guys. And this is Sundar Pichai. He says he may be forced to step down soon because he's just doing a terrible job running Google. He said the thing he doesn't understand is that you have to make it a good place to work. You have to make people feel good about working there. It's not all about technical accuracy. And he's making bad strategic decisions, and he's not creating a good culture. That's his argument, which I think is very much the case. This is something managers need to understand, is that you have to make people feel good about working for you. That's the most
Y-
important job.
Yeah, isn't this kind of like I kind of look at the computer industry as sort of like the car industry, but it's 100 years later, give or take. But Ford started off, you had all these car manufacturers, and what was Ford's big push? The assembly line, but more importantly, paying workers
Right.
more than what they were being paid elsewhere.
His
Y-
principle was everybody working here should be able to afford one of our cars,
Yeah,
which was
yeah,
revolutionary at the time.
yeah. And I think that was color agnostic, was it not?
I think so. I mean, I think
Yeah,
he treated his workers very well. If he had
yeah,
just shut up about the Nazism, it would have been good. Just like Elon Musk, if he would just make the cars and then shut up, everybody would love him.
true, true. But I guess what my point is over time, Ford, I don't think the automakers in the 50s, 60s, that wasn't a great place to work anymore,
No,
or as good of a place.
no, it's
And the employees were treated like crud,
yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
we kind of had this turning point.
Yep, that's what Cory Doctorow calls enshittification, the natural evolution of a company. But yeah, but you got
Yeah.
to take care of your workers to be,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, let's
Yeah,
go
and
back.
Google, right? At one time, Google was the
Oh, yeah,
place to work,
yeah, like
and
10 or
the
15 years
motto,
ago. Yeah,
yeah, and the motto was Google is not evil or don't be evil, I think is what it
yeah,
was.
yeah. But they changed all that. Yeah,
Yeah, so that's the ideal, the idealism when you're young.
yeah. When you're growing and money is falling from the sky, then everything is easy.
Then everything is good.
Yeah, yeah. Which is what it's been in China for a long time. Huge
Yeah.
economic growth, vast opportunities. So people had really high morale.
All right. Well, I've got one for you. This is from
Yeah.
LG, and you got to tell me, we have all these terms of service, right? Yeah, you have to click through when you install software, you have to agree to the terms of service. Well,
Mhm.
LG, I guess, decided to do something a little bit more clever. And I think they what they did was they wrote the terms of service on the cardboard boxes for their appliances. And the warranty states by opening the box, you agree to the terms of service. So while this isn't really computer related, I think it's kind of funny because it goes along with terms of service.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is not legal,
Yeah, I wonder how
and
much any of these terms of service hold up in court. I've heard people can defend themselves by saying nobody reads that stuff.
yeah, true. So I thought that was kind of a
Yeah.
comical story.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, you got another one for
I
us?
got a couple little ones here, some semi-medical
Okay.
ones. So they did a test and they found out that diet sodas create increase your risk of atrial fibrillation by 20%.
Really?
And yes, and but ever since I was a kid, my dad, who was like a chemist, said he didn't trust those artificial sweeteners. They apparently are bad for you. They say sugary drinks also increase your risk. They say what you should do is drink water, which I must say is something that wise people have known from the beginning of time. Um,
Yeah.
Constantly having to have like some kind of weird flavor in your water is not good for you.
Yeah.
And I was glad to see a couple of other medical ones. Over-the-counter birth control is now being shipped to retailers, and it costs $20 for a month. So this is a great boon to people. I mean, it's ridiculous that women have had to get a
Wow.
prescription for that stuff for like 50 years for no good reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
Walgreens, yeah,
wait,
yeah,
let me back up, Sam.
yeah,
The sugary drinks and
yeah,
diet soda, this is pretty interesting.
yeah,
There's a doctor at a UCSF, Dr. Lustig, Lustig, and he is a physician researcher. He deals with childhood obesity, and he has a number of podcasts, YouTube video, TED Talks talking about sugar and how sugar has been added to all our foods, our diets. And if you think about when Coca-Cola came out, I think it was in a 6-ounce bottle.
yeah,
Now you go to 7-Eleven, you get a big gulp at 64 ounces, and people would get one bottle of Coca-Cola maybe a week, 6 ounces, versus people going to 7-Eleven, maybe getting two big gulps in a day.
yeah,
Now, what's interesting is somebody asked him about diet sodas, and he said, "I've not done any research." Let me kind of elaborate on what Lesnick has said. Is he said, the way the sugar is processed in your bodies is no different than alcohol. And what's interesting in his research, he said, it's interesting. We're finding infants and fetuses that don't survive, but they have fatty liver disease, which is something that has never been seen in the United States.
yeah,
So the only way that that's happening is the mother is taking too much sugar in diet and it's getting deposited in the liver. So Lustig, look on YouTube, his videos are there. But the question of diet soda came up, and nobody has really researched that. But there have been a couple of stories where people are saying, all throughout high school, I would drink a 6-pack of diet soda per day. And they were athletes that were working out. So instead of intake of water, they were taking in diet soda. And the claims are that once they graduated from high school or went off to college, they started drinking water and cut down on diet soda completely, and they lost weight.
yeah,
So
yeah. I've heard this. And, well, however,
you've
to be
heard same
fair,
thing?
the
Yeah.
best person in America, Donald Trump, lives on Diet Coke, so it must be good for you.
Oh, okay. Okay. It gives you that energy boost as well as an
It makes you
intelligent.
it makes you the president, makes you important.
Oh, it makes you the president.
They should put that on the can. Anyway,
Coke weren't they doing that? Names on cans?
I remember sports figures.
Yeah, well, that's on Wheaties boxes, right? So you can't put Trump on a cereal box, but
You totally could if you paid him. He'd license it. Trump cereal, with the Trump sneakers and the Trump steaks, and there should be Trump crispy sugar-coated cereal in the morning. That would be perfect. Um, anyway, the
all
other
right,
thing,
what do you got next for us? What's
the other
coming
one
up?
they have is same. CVS and Walgreens are now going to start dispensing abortion pills, my mifepristone, with a prescription. But still, it's been hard to find, and that would be a great benefit. Of course, only in states where it's legal, which is only half of America now. But still, they're making it easier to get the drugs you need, which I'm glad to see.
Yeah, so that means, in theory, but this would be a crime, somebody could mail it to request it from out of state into a
Oh
state
yeah.
where you can't get it.
Oh, and there are groups totally doing that, like an
Yeah,
underground railroad. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So a different type of drug is going to be transported across state lines.
That's right. That's why I figured, in a way, I thought these abortion bans would be less important because all you need to do is get an illegal drug, and that's pretty easy. But in fact, I think they've already shown there's like some large number, like 50,000 excess births now in the states that banned abortion. So I think the problem is a lot of the people that really need the care are like teen mothers, and they don't know how to get it online or anything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, I got one for us. Walmart, I don't know if you saw this. I'm not sure where it stands right now, but they had an offer, and maybe they've purchased to buy the company Vizio TVs. So this leads to, why does Walmart want Vizio TVs when they already have their own branded TVs? And to let people know, Vizio was sold in Costco for a number of years. I haven't seen it at Costco. I don't know where it's being sold, but they're still around. They're a quality TV. They're not top tier like Sony, but they're the average. They're kind of like the Chevrolet, middle of the road. Good enough, right? Not poor quality, but they've decent quality. Now, why does Walmart want to buy it? Any thoughts, Sam?
Well, I can see from here that's your plan.
You
It's like
know, yeah, it's
I would
TV
not have guessed.
advertising.
I would not have guessed this. Yeah,
Oh, you wouldn't? Okay, that's why I'm asking.
yeah.
So I never thought of this. What they want is it's advertising revenue. So this is the new way of putting ads into, not ads into programs, but monitoring and monetizing what you're watching.
So
Because
do
all
they
these
they change the ads in response to what you watch, or is it just
no,
Walmart now knows and they'll mail you a ad or something?
well, so these TVs are connected to the internet,
Right.
as are most TVs right now, and they're monitoring what you're watching. So if you're watching, say, food shows, they'll
Yeah.
start targeting you with knife ads. They don't specifically, obviously, know that it's you who's watching, but somebody in your household, in your family.
And how do those ads get to you on the TV or some other way?
So I don't have a TV with ads, but I believe the way they're doing that is when the TV boots up or in between as you're changing, they slip in ads there. Any place they can slip in an ad.
Yes, so it's targeted advertising.
Yeah, it's highly targeted advertising with which is worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
Would you agree? Yeah.
Sure. Well, this is
So
why Google made all the money and took it from all the newspapers because they could do targeted advertising and it's much more effective.
yeah, yeah. And if you ever watch Shark Tank, they call it cost of customer acquisition.
Right.
And what this is doing is greatly reducing the cost of customer, meaning customer acquisition is targeting a customer to get them to buy your product. There's a cost to that. And this allows us to be more laser focused and target a specific user or family as they log in. Now, they also are taking place of Nielsen because now they're knowing what you're watching, how long you're watching it, or how long it's being streamed. So,
Yeah, you don't need Nielsen rating on the internet.
not
Everybody knows
anymore.
what everybody's doing. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's interesting. Nielsen is still trying to do that, right? They're still trying to target and see who's watching what. And I just think that Nielsen doesn't have the technology or the knowledge to work with to go up against companies like Google.
I know they're going to have to catch up with Google, which has been
Yeah.
refining their spying capability. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So I've got kind of a similar story.
Mhm.
And this one I think
Yeah.
is pretty funny too. So TV watchers are reporting as they're streaming TV shows that suddenly the show will stop. And it's like, oh, and they get the little circle or whatever, reconnecting. And it's like, oh, what happened? Did the internet go out? And you take a look at your Wi-Fi, maybe that's down. Huh, I wonder what's going on. And then you log into whatever the account is and you realize, oh, the license expired. So,
This is where
meaning
you have
the
to pay,
license.
this is where you have to pay every month for like Disney Plus or something.
Well, yeah, or Disney Plus, the licensing agreement with whoever they're getting the content from has expired.
Well, I just heard a news article that the music companies had a partnership with TikTok, and like 80% of the TikTok videos have proprietary music, and they just withdrew their partnership. So they're going to have to take down a whole bunch of stuff off TikTok.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I do know, I heard this mentioned. Do you remember the show WKRP in Cincinnati?
Yeah.
So I didn't watch the show, but one of the reasons it was popular because it was playing popular music. And at the time the TV show was aired, they licensed that music, but it wasn't going forward or perpetual. So now what's happened is all those TV shows that are on YouTube have been taken down or on the net taken down. So what they're doing is they're dubbing in different music
Yeah, that's what you have to
and
do.
poorly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's the world.
So
I went to,
anyway,
yeah.
oh,
I
so
went to
if
a
you watch
restaurant.
it, if go ahead,
I went to a
Samar.
restaurant and people were singing Happy Birthday with the real song for once because they couldn't do that until like this year because it was copyrighted.
Yeah, and I think the story is, and I don't know if this is credible or not, that Michael Jackson owned the copyright for it.
Oh, I don't know. I know him and Paul McCartney bought up a ton of stuff.
Yeah, so there was I don't know if it's true, so I'll say it's a rumor that years ago that he owned it. So I don't know where the status is now. But Sam, I think it's funny. At Christmas time, you go into different stores, and they're playing in pipe music, right?
Yeah.
And the songs that they use are from the 50s and 60s, maybe the 70s. But why? Because they're all royalty free.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So kind of same story. Anyway, we're going to be bombarded. So the question is, can you get a TV that doesn't have to be connected to the internet and it doesn't look that way? So we're going to
No.
be bombarded with more ads.
Yep. Yep. All right. I got a few more to mention here.
Sure.
So the Twitter executives have sued Elon Musk for $128 million in severance pay. Just like Donald Trump, he doesn't pay his promises, doesn't pay his bills, doesn't pay his rent, and he promised all these people severance pay and didn't pay them. So they're suing. I hope they get it.
But wait, didn't Elon pay the pie lady? Do you know the pie story?
I don't know that.
I think it was Twitter ordered something like in Silicon Valley from a pie store, something like 4,000 little pies. And so this company worked overtime. They made all these pies, and then Twitter calls up saying, "Oh, we don't need the pies." And
Uh,
so they said, "Look, you put the order in. We trusted you." So there was a little kerfuffle over that, and Elon finally came on Twitter and said, "I'll pay the lady." And
well,
it wasn't a lot of money; it was a
yeah,
trivial amount. But to the pie ladies or
yeah.
the pie company, it was a lot of money. So,
Well,
so
it's amazing how
Elon,
much. Yeah.
yeah, Elon finally, after a few days, made good on it. So
Well, it's
keep
amazing. It's
it,
just like Trump. He'll do it as a stunt, but he doesn't routinely pay his bills.
well, large bills.
Right. Which because they've learned if you're rich, you do not have to because you just make them sue you, and then most of the time that's too expensive, so you can just get away with not paying your bills all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And so the Black Cat ransomware gang is the one that has currently fouled up prescription drugs in America for about 10 days now. They've frozen up the billing system, and all kinds of pharmacies can't get their drugs. And now it turns out that it's an affiliate scheme. The Black Cat ransomware had an affiliate who did the actual hacking, and the company that got hacked, United Health or something like that, apparently paid the $22 million ransom, but the Black Cat leaders stole the ransom, shut down their servers, and fled. And the affiliates who actually have the data did not get paid. And now they're left holding the bag and the data. So it's not clear whether they're going to go and demand more ransom.
Wait a minute. Run
This,
this by me again.
this is how this
This
is
is
how
too
ransomware works now.
tangled.
This is how ransomware works now. You have a like global company. Black Cat is the huge overarching company, and they don't actually do the attacks. They like lend tools. You can purchase tools from them,
So so
like you're running Wendy's, and
so
you provide some stuff. You go hack somebody, steal their data, pass it, and they run the servers and deliver the ransom note and handle the money and stuff. And you're supposed to
I
get
mean
a percentage.
so meaning Black Cat.
Yeah, Black Cat is the larger organization, and your franchise.
And so what you're doing is you're running ransomware as a service or
Right.
as a subscription service from Black Hat.
That's right.
And you pick the target of who you want to attack.
People
And
argue.
then
They often have,
okay.
they even teach you how to do it. They have scripts, they have rules. Like, you know, you join the club and then you get some of the money and the guy above you gets some of the money.
I get it. So it's a
But for a
pyramid
really
scheme.
big payout, every now and then, every couple of years, they shut down because a big payout comes in. The guys on top just steal it all and then say, okay, it's over and turn it off.
They've got enough to live the rest of their life comfortably, is
No,
what you're
usually they
saying.
come back within a
Oh,
year with the same people forming another group with a different name.
I see.
But
So,
anyway, they ripped
meaning,
off their affiliate.
so they rip off the franchisees,
They did.
essentially.
They ripped off the
I
franchisee,
see.
but the franchisee still has the data, which they promised to delete. They apparently did send a decryptor to them, although it's not clear
Yeah.
if it worked yet. But so this is why, you know, an increasing number of people, including CISA, say don't pay the ransom. These guys are crooks. It's not good to deal with them. Although apparently 85% of companies do still pay the ransom. But in practice,
Really?
yeah, that's why.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is criminals can't trust criminals.
Yeah, and the victims can't trust the criminals that much. Although, uh, if you have a consultant guiding you when you get ransomware, they can help tell you whether it's worth paying the ransom. The ransomware companies develop a reputation of whether they actually do live
Yeah.
up to the word. And so, but most of the time, people do pay the ransom still.
Did you ever see the ransom note for the Colonial Pipeline?
I think I did, but I don't remember it being different than the others.
Well, it was pretty funny because they said we are honest. Essentially, we are honest
Yeah.
scammers. You can trust us.
Yeah.
We have a reputation. We have thousands of satisfied customers.
That's true. I remember I saw, and it's all true in a way, you know,
Yeah, it is. It is true.
yeah,
They
yeah,
want to keep their 5-star rating.
yeah. And the last one I got is one I saw coming, Ivanti gateways. You know, Ivanti gateways had some serious security flaws to where about 2 weeks ago, the US government ordered all government agencies to shut them off by Friday. And so then, because they're getting hacked, and
Yeah,
and they get hacked, and people would get in and steal authentication tokens for VPN tunnels, and then even rebooting it to fact and resetting it to factory defaults will not de-authenticate them. So
really.
yeah, that's the problem. So then Ivanti published a tool you can run to see if you've been compromised. So you can tell if you're clean. All these with instructions. Set it to factory defaults. Run this tool. Check for these things. If it's clean, you're good to go. And it turned out that tool does not work. You can still be hacked. And they have a revised tool. And as I thought, the CISA has now said what I think the point was all. And they said, you know, these guys are terrible. You really shouldn't be using this product at all. If you're using Ivanti stuff at all, why don't you just consider replacing it with something else? Because these guys
So
just don't seem to know what the hell they're doing.
yeah. So what's Avante make?
A VPN,
Fire
VPN concentrate,
VPNs.
and
Yeah, VPN concentrate. Okay.
and apparently a lot of government agencies are using them, and now they're saying just quit using them because they've fouled up so much in incident response here that we don't trust them anymore.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah. Got it.
yeah, I can
Got it.
understand it. That's why incident response is so important. You know, this is
Yeah. Yeah.
this is something Scott Galloway talks about. He says when you make a mistake, you have to apologize and overcorrect, give them something to make up for it, and then explain how you're going to fix it so it doesn't happen again. You have to really do that, or people will never trust you again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Ah,
Well,
well,
that's
that's
it, I
it
think.
for me. Sounds
Okay.
like that's it for you.
That's it for this one. We'll have another one on Friday.
Yep. What's Friday? The 8th, right?
It sounds about
March
right.
8th.
I'm going to stop it if I can find the button. There it is. All right.